everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be looking at the brand new Shuzo Oshimi book, AVANT GARDE YUMEKO. Real big fan of Shuzo Oshimi, starting with Blood on the Tracks is the first thing that I read by him, and then I started picking up Welcome Back Alice. I know he's got a bunch of other really popular books as well. I just haven't had the money to go back and buy the complete runs of them, but as they're releasing new stuff by him, I'm making sure to grab it. So very excited about this book. This is going to be a kind of spoilery review. I don't really know how to talk about books without giving away spoilers. So if this is brand new, if you're planning on getting it, maybe come back afterwards. But if you're curious about what it is, then follow the video. So this is an early work. Maybe I think it says it's his first long form work that got collected, Oshimi's. So it has that feeling of a little bit young compared to his newer works that I think are more dramatic and emotionally sophisticated. This one's definitely kind of more goofy and silly, but it has a lot of his same concerns that I see piling up in his other work. So I think I can enjoy it for that aspect. It's also it's stupid fun on its own, a little gross in places, but it fits well into what I'm starting to think about his body of work. He definitely is like scared of women or off put by women or something, and that shows up in a lot of his work. He obviously has struggles with that. It seems quite likely, I hate to project onto someone else, but it seems like he had some kind of mentally or physically abusive relationship at some point that he's working through. That's the sense that I get from his works. There's some kind of darkness to all his female characters that he's exploring. So anyways, this character Yumeko is a young high school girl, and she gets supposedly non-sexually obsessed with dicks. That's what she calls them, dicks. She wants to see a dick. She just wants to know like what this piece of male anatomy looks like, since everyone's obviously so concerned with it, and she's seen abstractions of it and heard her friends talking about having sex and stuff. She's just curious about what a penis is. She goes and finds a book so she can see like stuff in a book full of nude poses for artists, and like that's not enough. They're small, they're black and white. She needs to see one in color. So she tries going to a figure drawing. That doesn't work, and then she goes to the art club at her school hoping to do some figure drawing, and she meets this character Honda, who's a boy around her age in her school, and joins the art club. He wants to be an artist. He's sitting there painting a still life, and he asks her to join in, and then she winds up getting the apple, and then everything else turns into dicks. I also like right here, he says, oh, I mean, I just love Van Gogh, and she thinks him too. So I think she's saying there, like, why does everyone like Van Gogh so much? I thought that was kind of a funny moment. Anyways, she at some point convinces Honda to pose for her. She doesn't want to be drawing fruit. She wants to be drawing dicks. And this cracks me up. She just goes into a trance, and like he's standing in front of her as a model, and this is what she draws. Again, none of it realistic, but I guess she's seen one now, but she's trying to find some deeper truth about the penis through her art. So they get into a lot more strange hijinks. I'm not going to go through all of them because I do enjoy the book, and I think people should go buy it. Obviously, if the content's not for you, then stay away from it. But if you can handle what the content is, that it's enjoyable. I really enjoy this panel. They almost get caught at school, and so she brings him back to her house, and he's seen her in her room, and I like that he puts this fisheye lens distortion on it. Like this guy's just almost in like a near panic attack state, and it warps the room. That feels very well keyed to me, well observed. So anyways, they build this relationship, this odd relationship where they're posing for each other, and she's painting from him. I won't go into everything that they do because that's where a lot of the fun of the book comes from. But you see now she's just got a room full of art, and but still feels like she's missing something, and it goes from there. I won't give away the end of the book or what it's all about in the end, but it's a fun book. It's a little silly, it's a little gross. It definitely, like this right here, makes me think of Yaoi Kasuma, the Japanese woman who paints dots on everything. I think Shuzo Oshimi is intentionally referencing Kusama, because he's kind of pointing out that Yumeko is like the dick version of that. She just has to, instead of painting dots everywhere, she's got to paint dicks everywhere. So anyways, there comes to some kind of emotional conclusion that's good and interesting. In the back here, you also get a little short, an afterword by Shuzo Oshimi that's really not an afterwards. It's about him biting his tongue a lot while he eats and like bleeding, which is a strange little piece of diary. And then it also has an afterword, basically new, drawn for this edition, where he talks about what the story's all about in his mind. And there's a thing here where he says that the sexual urge is the beginning of self-expression, and art is the act of sublimating the libido into the abstract. And that seems very strange to me. That seems like a statement for someone who's trying to not engage in sex and use art to deal with that fact. And his books feel like that to me. And at the end of one of the Welcome Back Alice chapters that I reviewed, you also get a sense of like his own discomfort with his own body and sexuality, and that's what his work is all about, working through. It seems like maybe you shouldn't sublimate your libido. Like, be aware of it, like engage with it in a healthy way, and you could still go make art, but it seems to be like that discomfort and frustration is behind everything that he's doing, and he is making amazing art. I love his manga, so if that's what he needs to believe and experience to keep making what he's making, then I guess I'm cool with it. I feel sad for him that that's the state, but you know, I'm getting some good manga out of it. At least it's not the best thing at someone else's misery. But another interesting piece by Shuzo Oshimi, definitely not as sophisticated as his newer works. I don't think it's a little bit more childish, but I really enjoyed it still, and I would highly recommend it if you can handle a kind of jokey, smutty book. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel, the best ways to support us are through our Patreon. There's a couple different tiers there that have different levels of voting and contests that you can be engaged in. We really appreciate that. That money helps us buy the books that we review. And then also to support what Living the Line's really about, please support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll take a look at some of the books that he's put out or has coming out now. Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. This is translated by Ryan Holmberg and is very large for a manga, so that's a really cool feature of this book, this standard manga size. And this is just a 200 some odd page representation of what Yokoyama Yuichi thinks of the Carnival Parade, and he's just made this like relentlessly loud and rhythmic book that pushes all kinds of amazing boundaries of what comics and manga are, and we could not recommend this book more. Solid Yellow, Path of the Shades by Clarence Doss is a really cool ongoing project that Living the Line will be producing. Clarence is a PhD student from Fiji who's studying the myths of Fiji for his doctoral thesis. And part of that study project is that he's producing these comics. They're kind of like Hellboy, where there's these little short stories that capture all of these different mythologies. But then he's using that to wrap the project into his doctoral thesis, and then provide educational material where people can come to these comics. You know, they don't have to read his PhD thesis, they can come to the comics and get a more consumable version of the mythology of Fiji. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.